I'm Greg Whitley with Steel and Steam Coffee Company.
And I'm Jesse Wood, and you're watching the second part of an interview with Greg. This time we talk through what every builder needs to hear but doesn't want to hear, but it's also going to get you where you want to go even faster, and it's not quite what you think he's going to say. Stay tuned. If you're hungry to walk in your God-given purpose, but the process feels slower or more hidden than you expected, you're not alone. This is the Jesse Wood Show, where we give voice to the real process behind God-designed purpose. I created this space for faith-driven builders like you to help you recognize the importance of the season that God has you in and what He's doing in you during it, because what He builds in you matters just as much as what He builds through you. I'm Jesse Wood. Welcome to the podcast, and let's build together. I've got Greg Whitley here again. If you missed the last episode with him, press pause on this right now. Go back, listen to it, because I'm going to get into something a little bit different with him on this episode, but I want you to know the heart that he's coming from. His journey as a builder, his incredible endurance, literally was paralyzed in extreme sports, got right back on the bike. And that's literally just the story of his life. Every time he gets punched, beat down, door closes, this guy just keeps going. One of the most encouraging people in my life. But that's actually where I want to go with this episode. I want to get the performance coach version of Greg Whitley to come up and come alive, because there's so many people watching this podcast. We're giving real voice behind the actual process that you have to go through to walk in God-designed purpose, and you've been through it. You helped me in it, and I want to get some of the gold of performance coach Greg Whitley up and out. So let me start with this question. With all that you've been through and you coaching so many people, for people that are watching this, I'll just start in the meat. People that are watching this, what is something that you think that they're missing, or they don't understand, or perspective shift that they need that they don't realize they're missing, or some level of reality? Because you're that nitty gritty, like, this is real life. You're not a sugarcoat. This is what I love so much about you. What do you think people just need to hear? Maybe that their pastor isn't telling them, or just their counselor, their best friend. What is it? What do you think people need to hear, and they're just not sure if they can handle it?
Well, that's a great question, man. I think it's rooted in a couple of things. We live in a society that doesn't want absolute truth anymore, right? And so that's hard. So we're talking to people. Not everyone. I'm not saying that's who's listening, but there's an audience of human beings that you can't have accountability with, because they can't embrace that there's a truth, that there's a black and white, and there's a right and there's a wrong, and there's a good and there's a bad. And so there's a divide, right? C.S. Lewis talks about this in the Screwtape Letters, or Mere Christianity, when he talks about there's this divide in the conversation, and if you get to that place, there's no point in having the conversation, because it's you're not talking about the same things. There's no connection. So what I found, and you know this to be true because we've walked through this with some people that we both know in coaching, and I don't do that anymore. If I do, it's just relational, right? But if we have to start with truth. You have to be honest with yourself. And this is where I do know pastors that give you this truth. One of our good friends, like, he will tell you the truth, and you might not be ready for it, and you might not want it, but you're going to get the truth. And it's so helpful, because we've become soft in our communication with people, and we coddle them, and it doesn't help them. It actually prolongs the pain process, because they're not being honest with themselves, and the people who are influencing them, who should be honest with them, are not being honest with them. And so the truth is that you don't get to take ground and move forward unless you've put off what hinders. You got to break those chains that have bound you to things, and I have been bound to things, and I want people to understand, like, I've been through divorce. I've been through financial ruin. I've had great jobs and I've lost great jobs. I have had medical trauma. I've experienced death more than probably most people, and in ways that they shouldn't ever have to see or experience, or I would hope not, right? And I've been in trouble. I've been in like I am not the same person, and you're not the same person that you once were. And in the other previous podcasts, I listened to you talk about, you grew up in church and you had this environment that was incredible. I didn't grow up in that environment. I grew up in a different time, in a different environment. Be kind. I love my mama. She's a good woman. Also not the same person that she was, right? But there's a time in this conversation for truth where you need to be honest with yourself and only the things that you know. And you know what's hindering you. You know what's holding you back. And you may not have told that to anyone else, and maybe you didn't confide that in your pastor or your friends. But if you have a really good circle of people and you want to move forward in your life and you need to get over some things that are currently in your life, Jimmy Hiskey says this, our good friend, retired Navy SEAL, loved this quote. He says, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." So when you look around you, what do you see, right? Because when you're in that time and you need to be put off, are they telling you, "Hey, Greg, you know, what you're looking at on your phone isn't going to help you move forward. Hey, Greg, you're being lazy in this area. Hey, Greg, that thing you're holding on to from the past, until you let go of that, you don't get to take ground and move forward." So we're talking about foundation, building foundations to build on top of in the builder's blueprint. And honestly, man, it starts at that foundational piece, and you can't even pour that foundation or create that foundation until you've been honest with yourself. And if you expect to get saved and you walk into a church and you look good and you sound good and all the other people look good and they sound good, I love church, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that if you think your life is immediately going to be better because of that, wherever you go, you take your problems with you. They didn't just disappear. And so you have to be honest with yourself and be willing to get in the fire and do the hard work. And we were talking about, in the new logo, there's an anvil and there's a hammer. And I love that forging process, the thought of that, where, I was probably pretty useless as a tool for God for a long time. And we think about the potter and the clay, and it's like a scene from Ghost, and it's sexy, and, it's a beautiful thing. And the way I see God, my Jesus was the carpenter, was building stuff, busted up his hands, probably bled. I don't know if Jesus said some bad things when he missed a nail. I don't know. But when you put something in the fire that is raw and is just, it's not useful, it's not a tool yet, and then you put that red hot item on the anvil and it gets hit with the hammer by this craftsman who is just, and sparks are flying, and then all of a sudden they're putting you in this grinder, and then all of a sudden you are sharp and you are useful. And I think we try to avoid that process. And I guess what I would suggest is I would embrace it. Don't be afraid of the storm. Go into the storm. Like, fight for yourself. Because God will heal you. God will do these things, but that doesn't mean you don't have work to do. So let's just be honest with ourselves and put in the work. You perform to the level of your training, right? That's what we would teach people. Well, there's spiritual training. There's physical training. You want to be a master of your craft. There's things that you have to learn and do, and there's no substitute for the time. So I would just say, love the work. Whenever we would run, when we would do rucks, we were doing these through hiking the Shenandoah National Park for time to raise money for youth groups, like day and night. And Pastor Joe Riddle is yelling at me like, "Hey, dude, we're going to keep moving. We're not stopping." You're doing all this stuff, and you know what's coming because you're looking at the map and you've got this 2,000-foot climb coming up, and you're tired. And you got to learn to love the climb. You don't look at it and say, "I have to." You look at it and you say, "I get to." And then you just go crush that thing. And there's other words that whatever your self-talk is in that moment, but just embrace the fact that in order to make you useful, God's got some work to do in you. and that you got to put off these things by being honest with yourself, break those chains that are binding you so that that foundation can be poured and shored up so that when the master engineer looks down on that foundation, he's like, yeah, let's build, let's go. And it doesn't matter when the storm comes. Like, you're that guy, you're that girl, and you get to be the calm in other people's storm when you become that person. So I guess that's the beginning point.
Vision isn't permission to rush. It's an invitation to trust. Like Abraham, sometimes you're called to move without seeing the full destination. Everyone wants to build what they feel called to build. But calling often comes before visibility, like David in the field. When God gives you a vision, it's not so you can force it to happen. Like Joseph, there are seasons where the dream is clear, but the path is quiet. Before God builds something with you, He builds you, the builder. Like Moses in formation, and Nehemiah laying foundations that last. The Purpose-Driven Business Builder's Blueprint was created to help you recognize your season and build it right. Learn more at purposedrivenbuilder.com.
Yeah, no, there's so much gold in that. Right off the bat, I was thinking, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. But just knowing that truth is an invitation on what are we going to do with it. Some people run from the truth. Some people, they go get in front of a mirror, and I write about this story in my book, and I look yourself in the face and go, you know what? I'm not going to get in my own way. And you just submit and you surrender to the Lord, and you know He's going to take that truth because He is the truth. It's really Him. And He's going to get in that thing with you, and He's going to heat you up and grind you and hammer you out. But you're watching this podcast episode as a purpose-driven business builder, and you're asking God to walk you into your purpose. And what Greg is trying to help you see is literally what's coming. Like, this is on the map. This is the journey. This is the process. And instead of shying away from it, let's dive into that thing, make the process, ideally, it's still going to be hard, but hopefully we get to the fun stuff faster and we get to the impact sooner. And you never like succeed your way out of the process. And I love what you said. There's no substitute for time spent. There just really isn't. And you look at anybody in the Bible, like a David who hit Goliath with the stone. Well, I think a lot of people think that was too much of a miracle than it was just actual hardened repetition skill. That dude was just a beast. He'd been protecting sheep, and now God's saying, hey, I need you to come protect my sheep now. And David's like, cool. Yeah, we got that. We could go do that thing. Because he was hardened, he was forged in the reality and embraced it, and then God could use him. So as you've grabbed that truth and you've said, all right, God, use this truth to set me free and help you get moving, what do you see generally is the next phase? Like, you bring such a level of a gift of endurance. So I've got the truth, I'm facing myself, I've got those people in my life, like my wife, she's so graciously is able to just give me the truth all the time. But God brought her into my life for that reason as well, as a friend. And we would get in an argument, Greg, and we'd be going back and forth, and she's trying to tell me that I'm like this, and I'm like, well, I'm not, and whatever, it's you and your problem. And then it finally hit me that she really cares about me. So first, knowing that she really loves me told me that I should be able to trust that what she's saying is true. Mm-hmm. And you go fire a weapon downrange. You're looking through these sights, and you're looking square on the bullseye. You pull the trigger, and let's say you go up and left. You do it again, up and left. You do it again, up and left. What's the problem? It's the sights are off calibration. Your intention is to hit. You're actually consistent, trigger pull, breathing, all of that, but you need calibration. And God gave me this picture that my wife or the people in my life that are giving me truth are trying to help me calibrate because I'm not hitting where I think I'm hitting. And so for me, we'd be in an argument and I finally would just stop arguing. And she's like, what? You got nothing to say now? That's just how we are with each other. And I'm like, I'm actually asking God, how did I get off calibration? Like, where did this happen in my life?
Mm.
Help me find those things that I can bring the truth to be set free. But
Yeah.
what would you say is like the next phase of how do you get people to go, okay, yeah, I hear you. Let me do something with this truth, and how do we apply that truth to actually walk in freedom and get that foundation you're talking about God can build on?
Mm. Not a popular answer, but
So I love you.
I think that I've said this to my kids, especially to the boys, who are now young men and men, that and I said this to my wife, just pain is a great teacher. Because a lot of times we ignore all the other stuff. Because if it doesn't hurt you, you don't pay attention to it, right? If your wife doesn't say it, you could easily continue down that path and just think everything's cool, or it's not cool. And again, back to being honest with yourself. You know it. You know. You know when you need to be calibrated. You know when you're off. You know when you should apologize. When you need to apologize to yourself and to God, because you know what the task was and you just weren't up to the task, and you need to step up your game. And the endurance piece of this conversation, though, is because you need to experience failure as you move forward. You need to build a wall and have to tear it down. I remember in your podcast with Jay, he was talking about that, like there were moments where you build something and then all of a sudden you have to tear it down and start over. And you think you have everything squared away, and you, to the best you can, and you're a planner and I'm a planner, we're very strategically minded. And I think when I'm good to go, well, God gave me this vision. I've planned it all out. Like, this is the way we're executing. And when it goes sideways, I get really mad. I'm like, what? No, 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 no. And then I find my fault in it, because leaders, they look in the mirror, right? It's not their fault. It's not the people who were executing, like who was the planner, who put it together, who built it. And you take that responsibility on yourself, and you go back after looking in the mirror and you have that honest conversation with yourself. And then every time you do that, you're building a little more endurance, because when you get knocked down, you can get back up. When you get that setback, you can put your big boy pants on and you can move forward. Like, no excuses, no whining. You suck that stuff back up in your face, and then you take ground and you move forward. And every time you do it and you have that little success, works the same way. You have a success and you have confidence that you can do that thing. And what happens is we have successes and then something goes sideways. We just had it happen in our business, and caught us off guard, and we like, oh man, I thought we were doing everything right. And it wasn't catastrophic, but I was like, not devastated, but I was kind of pissed. I was like, well, man, what we did it right. No one told us this. We didn't know about this. It's a thing. And then at some point you just got to stop that dialogue and go, okay, am I going to do this or am I not going to do this? And your endurance allows you to do that. So sometimes you have to take a knee. Jimmy used to tell me this all the time, like when it sucks, it sucks. Like, nobody's taking that away from you, but take a knee and then make a decision and move forward. Forward is life. Movement is life. And so don't allow yourself to get stuck. And when you have to do the teardown process, just re-strategize. And if you believe in the vision and you were called to do that thing, and it's affirmed by those people in your inner circle as the right thing to do, and everything lines up, like, go.
Yeah. And I want to bring in the spiritual aspect too, because you and I, we've always connected from day one as being high performers, high achievers, and we see a thing, we're just going after it. And it can almost be like, God, whether you're coming or not, like, we're going and we're making it happen. But there is a whole nother element where you get going and it looks crazy, feels crazy, and you're having stuff that falls apart. But then there's also those miracle moments where something works you didn't think it was going to work. You got to the end, and then the end went a little even farther, and then the breakthrough came through. And even today, I was on a call with some agents that I was training. We're planning for a training that we're doing coming up, and It is hard. Like running a business is hard. It's a lot of faith involved. And when you feel like, God, we need a miracle like yesterday, like last week, last month, but I'm on this call and I'm literally talking to these agents, encouraging them from the reserves of just having been through life, but still not knowing. And then
Mhm.
I get a notification that something we've been believing for a year just came through. Literally,
That's
I'm talking to them. I see the notification and like I just get hit with emotion. And I'm like, guys, this is the why. This is the impact. It's not about just you succeeding in business. It's about having such a testimony that's going to set other people free and turn you into someone that the kingdom of God can trust to put people around you because you're going to help walk them into their purpose. So
mm.
on the other side of the coin of you're going to go put your faith to work. I know that for sure. You're that guy. You're going to get up, you're going to always do it. What's the other side for those of us that are high achievers where you're just like sometimes God's just doing it or he just shows up? Where have you seen him work like that in your life?
Well, I think you could speak to this as well, but there's a danger of being that person. And it's that principle that your greatest strength can also be your biggest kryptonite, right? And spiritually, God will give, I mean, I remember telling someone, I said, what was my spiritual gift? And I'm like, my spiritual gift is suffering. And they were like, you poor human being. Like, that's terrible. But it's really the gift of endurance, right? It is endurance and stamina to be in the fight. But you don't always have to be on. And if I'm in this season, and it would be fun, like we need, when I come to Virginia Beach, we need to hang out, and we've always had fun. But I've while this has been intense, and I've been talking like old Greg, and some of these things, I have lightened up a lot, and I use that in moments, and not coaching people all the time, and not trying to develop those high performance teams. We will do that in our own business. We're gonna build some world class leaders. That's my goal, right? Um, because I don't want to do this forever, right? I need those people, and so, and I wasn't meant to do this forever, but I've learned to have fun and enjoy the moments of success. And I can see those successes. And before I couldn't see them, I just saw the next ridge line. I saw the next fight. I saw the next task. Like I just wanted to keep fighting all the time. And not everything's a fight. And that's why I couldn't see happiness and I couldn't see joy, is because I was always on, like in fight mode. And I got to love it. And it was an addiction. Like, no, not, I don't want to misuse that term. It was something, well, it was something I was addicted to doing, I guess, but I just being that guy. And I loved the way that other people saw me in that. And so letting go of that and physically just removing that and enjoying my wife when we're in the business. We call each other Henry and Edna, like an old farm couple. We have a calendar that says Henry and Edna, and I'll be doing something silly and goofy, man. Like when I'm supposed to be being serious in front of the community and I'm being just goofy. And she's like, Henry, come on, you get over here and get back to work, and like we have fun. And I'm getting to enjoy the process where I never allowed myself to do that. And I think if I could go back in the time machine and even talk to some of the people that we coached and led and did, things with, it's like, and other men when we would get guys together for things like the Agogi and things, it's just, there is an enjoyment part of the process where you get to see how much God loves you by what he's doing in you, through you, in your business. You get to see your gifts at work. When you're task oriented and performance driven all the time, you don't get to see that. It's always, I need to be better. I need to be sharper. I need to be stronger, faster, like it's time to be 3.0, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I do love that. And even as I'm saying it, I'm like, yeah, let's go, Jesse. But at the same time, and it's not about seasons of life or age, or it's just about some wisdom that God has allowed me to learn in this season where I can have joy. I can see the success. I can enjoy the moment. And I'm thankful for that, man. And so there is a time to be the guy or the girl who can come alongside people, crush the task, change the world. Like whatever it is, save the day. We need those people. And there's a special kind of ingredients, there's a special ingredient. And you've been through the forge and you've walked through the fire, and that's what makes you that person, and we need you. But also don't get so addicted to it that it becomes an adrenaline thing for you, and your identity is wrapped up in being the fixer and being the achiever and the performer and the challenger all the time in your relationships with people. Because, man, I've seen things in people in this season and community that I've not been able to see before.
That's so good. So good. And I'm glad you mentioned identity, because I know for me, when I went through my unplugged season, literally what came next was identity first. And when you realize God is the Father, He's making the plans, He's doing the provision, but because you're in the house and you're grateful, He asks you to be a good steward. Like, hey, can you do some chores around the house? Can you clean up after yourself? Can you go mow the lawn? But the success isn't contingent upon your participation. It's just an invitation. And you're just taking, like, man, this is so good. My Father's asking me, and we get to do this thing together. And then God brings you a partner, a spouse. And we have similar stories now, having been married before and now having such a beautiful partner that's God ordained. There's so much joy in that. And I love the scripture, and we'll end with this, is the Bible says that for the joy set before Him, Jesus endured the cross, and He achieved something incredibly hard. Like, He did that, but it was for joy. It was because He saw the joy, not the praise and the adoration and all the stuff. He's just like, man, how much fun I'm going to be able to have with my siblings, how much restoration we're going to have in the kingdom, in the house of God. That's exciting. Let's go do the hard thing now. Greg, I love you so much. You're like one of my favorite dudes on the absolute planet. You guys stalk him on social, Steel and Steam Coffee Co. You're probably just gonna have to make you a regular occurring human, because this has been so fun. Any last words for the builders out there?
Just get after it. Don't be afraid. Bet on yourself. Believe in how God's built you, and it's worth the risk. Step into the fray and do what few people can do.
So good. You guys have been listening to Greg Whitley, of course, yours truly, Jesse Wood, tuning into the Jesse Wood Show. Let's build together.